All of that's important, and all of those babies are dead. All of those people are dead.
Yesterday, Israeli forces killed 58 Palestinians and injured 2,700 more during mass protests along the Gaza border. And as Defense of Children tweeted out, our initial investigations confirm Israeli forces killed at least 6 Palestinian children today in Gaza, including 5 boys and 1 girl. Ages range from 13 to 17 years old. Now, before I get to the clip that I want to show you of Eddie Glaude's reaction on MSNBC to this, I have to show you this White House clip for context. So, this was the White House's official reaction to Israeli forces killing all these Palestinians.
On the issue of peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians, when was the last time the White House reached out to Palestinian leadership? And will, given the high numbers of casualties, Palestinians calling what's happened today a massacre, will the White House be reaching out?
Well, I don't honestly have an answer for you on that. I'll get back to you.
Just follow up then.
Sure.
I mean, Jared Kushner in his speech pointed a finger at the Palestinians, saying they were responsible for provoking violence. But given the fact that it's only Palestinians who are being killed, should Israel not shoulder some of the blame?
Well, as I said earlier, we believe Hamas bears the responsibility. Look, this is a propaganda attempt. I mean, this is a gruesome and unfortunate propaganda attempt. I think the Israeli government has spent weeks trying to handle this without violence. And we find it very unfortunate.
Throwing rocks 50 meters from the wall, and we're faced with sniper attack. I mean, is the White House in denial of the split-screen reality that's occurring?
Again, we believe that Hamas is responsible for this.
The reaction from the White House is just absolutely ridiculous. 58 Palestinians were killed by Israeli forces, 2,700 more injured. You know how many Israeli forces were injured in these protests? 0. This was aggression from only one side. So to act like the Palestinians are creating propaganda by being murdered by Israeli forces just doesn't make any sense. Now, I show you that clip because it's referenced here at the end of the next clip, where Eddie Glaude Jr., who is the William S. Todd Professor of Religion and African American Studies at Princeton University, appears to be the only guy with a heart still left on MSNBC.
It's important that the foreign policy is generating uncertainty, deep uncertainty. Right, that is cascading chaos on the domestic.
But the foreign policy is not what the Congress members of the House and Senate are campaigning on right now. They need to campaign on domestic issues where they have a stance. So while Donald Trump is doing this and may look for a deflection, it's not necessarily going to help the midterms.
All of that's important, and all of those babies are dead. All of those people are dead. They're dead. And we're talking about racehorses. I mean, the politics. I mean, there are a lot of folks who are dead today. For what? I'm sorry. This is me being a moralist, I suppose.
No, I understand. And the White House today, their response to that was it is Hamas's fault, and they're using them as tools for propaganda.
That's like saying the children in the Children's March of Birmingham, it was their fault that Bull Connor attacked them.
That was one of the more powerful clips I've seen from MSNBC, at least in recent years. Now, there's so much to say about this. So, Eddie Glaude has to explain his reaction. Because the panel doesn't know how to react, they're just all stunned. There's no reaction after he says his piece. He has to go and say, oh, I guess I'm a moralist, I suppose. Yeah, Eddie, maybe you are. And everyone else on your network isn't. And they should be. When you have to explain your empathy, there is something inherently wrong with how MSNBC covers the news. What they're used to doing is covering the horse race. Oh, how are the Republicans going to react to this? How are the Democrats going to react to this? What's Trump going to say about this? How's this going to affect him? There's rarely, if ever, a focus on the actual people at the heart of these issues, whether it's Palestinians or whether it's Americans. So Americans who can't afford their next job or can't afford their next meal or are working 3 jobs to afford their next meal or don't have health care. Like, these are just fundamental issues of being human. We should be able to recognize that you have to understand people's lives in order to deliver the news in a way that actually affects them, that can inform them. But when you're so focused on being entertainment, which is what MSNBC and yes, CNN and Fox News both are, or all three are, then you miss the point of having the news. You're supposed to be journalists. You're supposed to be getting into these issues. You're supposed to feel. You're supposed to be empathetic. You're supposed to show what is actually going on and push back against the people in power, whether it's corporations or the government, in order to help change things for the better. But that's not what they've done. In recent years, all these networks have gone down the hole. It's all about the horse race. It's all about being entertaining and not about actually informing people. And just a couple more points here on the clip. The lady beside him, who I could have looked up her name, but I don't want to embarrass her because she made a fool of herself. She did not had no idea what to say. She was trying to move the conversation towards a horse race about what the party should do to focus to how the party should focus on domestic issues in order to win. All that's fine, but as Eddie Glaude said, people died. And if you're not going to address that part, then you can't address the horse race. So this shows you how inept and just in a bubble MSNBC is. They're so focused on being entertaining on the horse race that they lose the bigger picture. And I'm glad Eddie Glaude brought them down to reality here and showed them what was actually going on. Now, there's more I want to show you. I want to show you the reaction that an Israeli-based human rights organization has had to this massacre in Gaza. And I also want to show you another Eddie Glaude clip from a couple months ago, where once again he shows that he actually he's maybe the one and only guy on MSNBC that has real heart. So first, a lot of people have this idea that Israel as a whole is totally for murdering Palestinians. That's just not true. The Israeli government is a right-wing government, but there are left-wing organizations and people in Israel. So one of them is B'Tselem. It's an Israeli-based information center for human rights in the occupied territories. And this was the statement that they put out after Israeli forces killed Palestinians on the Gaza border. The demonstrations held in Gaza today came as no surprise. Israel had plenty of time to come up with alternate approaches for dealing with the protests, apart from firing live ammunition. The fact that live gunfire is once again the sole measure that the Israeli military is using in the field evinces appalling indifference towards human life on the part of senior Israeli government and military officials. B'Tselem calls for an immediate halt to the killing of Palestinian demonstrators. If the relevant officials do not issue an order to stop the lethal fire, the soldiers in the field must refuse to comply with these manifestly unlawful open fire orders. So once again, this is from an Israeli-based human rights organization. So just because you might not hear a lot of differing opinions or dissenting voices from within Israel on the actions that the right-wing Israeli government takes, doesn't mean that they're not there. That's like saying that Trump represents all Americans. He doesn't. And Netanyahu does not represent all Israelis. So this last clip I'm going to show you here is from Eddie Glaude. And this is from back in April, where once again, this man has heart. And I hope we see more of him on MSNBC. So check this clip out.
I'm just thinking about all those people, all the people around the country who are catching hell, trying to make ends meet, trying to pay their light bill, trying to keep food on the table, pay rent, and having to navigate and negotiate this stuff, this nonsense. I mean, just think about it. The President of the United States, there's a judge just said yes to a $25 million fraud to Trump University, emoluments, Michael Cohen, his lawyer, obstruction, collusion. And then you combine all of that with incompetence, with someone that you don't think has a moral center, whose narcissism is so unbounded, that he will make the decision with regards to Syria. He will make the decision with regards to North Korea. And so I'm thinking about hardworking, everyday people, whether you're white, black, brown, purple, or yellow, having to live in perhaps a country that's in decline. And the face of that declension is a B-list reality actor.
Now, this is a clip that went viral about a month ago. I meant to cover it then, but I'm glad I'm covering it now. It shows a human moment on MSNBC, like the clip before it did. And apparently Eddie Glaude is the only person on cable news that is delivering these human moments. So, look, moments like this, or, responses like this are all over Twitter, all over YouTube. But on cable news, because they are so coached, because they are so focused on the horse race, and because you're told not to go too far outside the lines, moments like this are incredibly rare. Moments where people are showing real empathy. Like, this is... The reason why MSNBC and CNN and Fox News are where they are is because of the influence of corporate money on the network. I mean, it's the reason these networks exist is because of corporate money. So it's hard to expect people to be human when you're incentivized not to be human. You're incentivized to just look at news as entertainment and a way to get to generate more eyeballs. But when you actually get down to what the news is supposed to be about and becoming empathetic and being human and relating with people that are watching at home, Eddie Glaude embodies that. And MSNBC needs more of it. Hey, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button below and consider throwing me a few bucks on Patreon at patreon.com/therationalnational or therationalnational.com/join.